Okay, good day, Year 9. Welcome to week 11, session 3, building our rhetorical speeches. Now we're going to go straight into a starter activity now. Your daily review on your own to get you making links across your learning. Now, I've taken a paragraph and they're deliberate elements that are missing. So in a minute, I want you to spend a few minutes to answer this question. Can you see what's missing from this piece of work? Now, I'm using this word missing on purpose, because actually this student hasn't done anything wrong, but they are missing some key elements. And when we start drafting and redrafting our speeches this week, it will not be that I'm asking you to think you've done something wrong or that the work you've done up until this point isn't good enough. But we need to be truthful. There might be elements that are missing. And if we can pinpoint what is missing in your work, we can help. And if we can pinpoint what's missing, so we can help this student in our hypothetical task in a minute to get an upgrade to the next level. So my question is, can you see at least 3 edits that you would make? So looking at this paragraph, can you see 3 things that are missing? And in a minute, my assistant today is going to see if she can spot and talk to us about some of the things that are missing. So I am lucky to have been born in a country in which child labour was abolished over 100 years ago. To abolish something means that it has just begun. So in this country, under a century has passed since we thankfully stopped the exploitation of children in the workplace. So you're going to press pause. Now, there are more than 3 edits we would make to this paragraph, but when we're starting to critique our own work, when we're going to be positioning ourselves to read the speeches we've written, this isn't about coming at the work you've done and thinking there's something wrong with it, but it is about pinpointing what's missing that we can add in, that we can upgrade to get to the next level. So what 3 edits would you make? So what 3 edits would you make?
It says to abolish something means that it's just begun, but that's not true. Because to abolish something means it's just ended, because that don't make sense. I am lucky to live in a country in which child labour was abolished, so that means got rid of.
Brilliant.
But
so we've got to change the meaning there of that word. One other thing, any other edits?
They don't have a full stop.
Brilliant. Second edit, third edit.
Oh, it's not a capital at the beginning of the sentence.
Okay, so that was my lovely assistant. That's my Year 9 student that I've dragged in today to help me with this lesson, or actually it's my daughter. But so 3 edits there from Lyra. But let's see, there are some other things. But the thing about editing work is that you always start small. You don't look for every single thing that's missing, but you recognize it's better to see what's missing and make 3 edits to upgrade to the next level than to not do this process at all. So brilliantly spotted there. So that needs to be capitalized. I am lucky. Now has been, actually that's present tense, we need to be in the past. I am lucky to have been born in a country in which child labour was abolished, needs the ed ending, abolished over 100 years ago. Now, ago actually is 2 words. It's written there as 2 words, but it's 1 word, and we'd need that full stop. Now, what I did love, very proud of my daughter, proud mother moment, that she understood that abolished, that the meaning was wrong. So we've talked about definition and meaning, and she spotted it. To abolish something means that it has ended. To abolish means it's been got rid of. So in this country, under a century has passed. Well, actually, under is the opposite to over. So there's a mis-explanation there, a wrong explanation. So if slave labour was abolished 100 years ago, we want to change that. So in this country, over a century, we've got a spelling error there. We're missing the U in century, has passed since we thankfully stopped the exploitation of children in the workplace. Brilliant, as spotted by Lyra. We need that full stop. But just drawing attention as well, and both thankfully and stopped, we've got single L, single P, but the spelling rule there is it should be a double consonant, okay, after a vowel. So we should have had a double LY and a double PED. But what I want us to be aware of in this process today and tomorrow is that I am going to be asking you at points to reread what you've written to see if there's anything missing. Now, if you could use somebody at home to do this process with you, so I use Lyra, my daughter, you might use a mum, a brother, sister, somebody that loves you, somebody that owes you a favour, you could ask them to look at your speech to see if there's anything missing. Because sometimes you do need a second pair of eyes. when you're drafting. Now, as a process, we know professional speech writers work with politicians, etc., and there will be a huge team actually working around the creation of speeches that are designed to fact check the elements that are missing, the accuracy of what's being written. And if I was going to fast forward though to you guys in year 11, in the exam, you are the only person that can reread your own work to see if there's anything missing. Okay, so this sort of activity is not, we've got to get out this mindset of being critical in the wrong way. Some people are really resistant to looking at their own work because they feel it's like a concession, I've done something wrong. And nobody likes to be wrong. We find it really hard to admit we've done things wrong. So when we get to the process of critiquing work, I want you to be thinking, well, what's missing? And if we can pinpoint what's missing and upgrade that sentence or upgrade that area so it's no longer missing, then actually that's a better level, that's a better grade, that's a better outcome for you in the future. So it was just a little warm up today. So there might be times today when we write and I say, okay, have a look, see what's missing, is there anything you need to change? Now we're going to write the next 3 stages of our speech today. We're going to write the climax, the falling action, and the ending. So in order to do this, we're going to combine a little bit of what we did yesterday. Okay, so this was our climax example from the speech I wrote yesterday. Now you can actually see in this instance, it's really only 3 sentences. It uses antithesis, low to high, so it's got a rhetorical feature. It uses an effect sentence, if and then, but it does link back to the extended metaphor of blinded, and it's time to open our eyes. So what you are going to do, are you ready? Okay, you are going to pause the screen and you are going to write the climax paragraph of your speech using antithesis, potentially an if-then sentence, and a link back to your extended metaphor. Or, if you prefer the other method, so you get a choice today, guys, okay? Now, choices are wonderful things because it gives you a little bit of control, a little bit of ownership, but sometimes we struggle to make a choice. So choice 1 is you write your climax paragraph in a minute. You can follow these 3 steps. Use antithesis, use an effect sentence, link back to your extended metaphor. So if you're writing your speech about plastic pollution, racism, equality for women in sports, you might begin yours, you could still use low to high, but you might change it to say the cost to our society might seemingly be low, but the cost to our conscience is high by continuing to pay women less than men in sports. So if we continue to be ignorantly blinded to the reality that women are paid less for doing the same amount of work in sports, then this cycle will never be broken. It is time to open our eyes. So you could use that method, or, hear that word, or you could go back to this method where you could give me a topic sentence about a compelling emotional point, and you could build it into your paragraph this way. Now, a compelling emotional point, guys, I can't tell you what that is. Your research, your chosen topic will tell you what a compelling emotional point might be. Now, I mentioned I was here with recording this with my daughter helping me. We have just had quite an interesting conversation about what's going on in the world at the moment. So we were just saying that there's a compelling emotional point that as much as people, and I think my mum was here and we were talking about it, around the statues. And a compelling emotional point could be, is the destruction of a statue in Bristol going to give George Floyd back his life? Now that's compelling because it's emotional and it's poignant. And then our paragraph could build that. So if we were going for racism, what I'm saying is, through the research you've done for racism, what's your most emotional point? What's the strongest, the most hard-hitting thing you've discovered? You're going to make that your topic sentence here. Looking at plastic pollution, what is the most emotional, hard-hitting thing you've discovered in your research? Is it the high numbers of animals that are being killed? Is it not so much the high numbers of animals, but that the death of sea creatures due to plastic pollution is painful and drawn out? What's the most compelling point that you've discovered around your topic? That's what's going to be your sentence here. So again, if you want the Ronseal way in, like it says on the tin, you could begin your topic sentence, child labour is an emotional topic. but the most emotional thing I can tell you about today is, and you could use that sentence structure. So guys, you're going to press pause and you're going to write your climax paragraph. It doesn't have to be more than 5 sentences, and it could be as little as 3. So you get a choice now. You could do your compelling emotional point like this one, 3 sentences, or your compelling emotional point following our 1 to 4 structure, whatever you prefer. Now, I don't want you to press play until you've got that paragraph drafted. So you can call it your climax paragraph, a compelling emotional point. That's what you're going to do now, guys. Okay, see you in a minute. Okay, so now we're going to do the falling action. Now, just to show you that we can do these in either order, and this is why it's a choice. So now we're going to write the next section of our speeches. We've done a compelling point, and now we want to shift the tone to something positive and hopeful. And we've got this question that we want to be talking about what can be achieved if we change. Now, what I want to show you is that your topic sentence can be, what can be achieved if we change the amount of plastics being produced in this country? What can be achieved if we change the rate or the amount that women are paid in sport? What can be achieved if we change the way we view homelessness in this country? What can be achieved if we change racism? So your topic sentence for this next paragraph, the falling action, we want it to be overall as a whole paragraph positive and hopeful, but we can begin with this topic sentence. What can be achieved if we change how children are forced to work in terrible conditions? Now, okay, what I mean by changing the amount of pollution released into the oceans is by simply beginning to reduce the amount of plastic we buy, we can have an impact on what makes it into the system. What I mean by changing the future for homeless people includes, and you can take it that way. So you've got your same structures that we're used to using, because, if, then. So if we were going to use this structure, so let's think, what one thing could we change, okay, around plastic pollution? Okay, so what I mean by making a positive change to impact on plastic pollution is simply choosing not to use plastic straws. Because plastic straws contribute to 54% of the plastic pollution that is found on our beaches, a simple change from plastic to metal and reusable straws will have a huge difference. If we all commit to saying no to plastic straws in our shops, in our restaurants, then plastic straws will no longer be made, reducing the amount of plastic that eventually ends up in landfill. So could you see then, I started with what can be achieved if we change. I've given one way of changing plastic pollution. I've still used because and if and then. So I'm still following that structure, but now I'm talking about something positive. So my closing sentence. So by making a simple change, such as plastic to metal reusable straws, we will have a hopeful future. Okay, so it could be a question to be answered in the next paragraph. So then we could say, well, what else can we do? Yep. And then your next little bit could be another way we could change for the future is by. So you can use this structure to write a paragraph that's that falling action where you're shifting the tone to positive and hopeful, and you're talking about what can be achieved if we change. Option 1. Option 2, you can use my paragraph that we looked at yesterday, and then you can write your own paragraph that's going to use words that link back to your opening, use words to create a more optimistic and positive tone. Now you're going to need to maybe pause on this one and spend a little bit longer, because if you've got no research or facts that actually appeal to Logos and prove what good can be done in your topic area, you might need to stop and do that. Now I've challenged you here to include 2 positive actions and things that people can do, and to use a cultural illusion. So you can actually combine elements. You can write this style paragraph and use a cultural illusion. You can write this style paragraph and include 2 positive actions and things that you want your audience to do. But what we're looking to achieve in the falling actions section is make it really clear how we're going to change. Off you go.